Praise be to Jesus. The enemy has been driving me nuts for 2 days. I would like to share with you an experience I have had with the enemy the past 2 days. Several years ago, I was lying in bed thinking about a certain aspect of my spiritual life when suddenly I felt my right eye click. I immediately was seeing double images. As I thought about how strange this was, it occurred to me that God was telling me that what I was thinking about I was not seeing clearly, that I was, at least in part, mistaken about what I thought was going to happen to me. This has happened a few times since, but I want to tell you about what began happening yesterday. I started working on a project aside from the channel where I need to construct videos to burn onto DVDs. I needed 4 DVDs for the project. The first one went fine, but when I started to construct the second DVD, I ran into a technical problem. There wasn't really any reason for this, as I was just doing the same thing I had done with the first one. I began troubleshooting the problem, eliminating things that could possibly be causing the problem. After eliminating several possibilities, I felt I was getting close to discovering what the problem was, and then my right eye clicked and I began seeing double. I thought that again, God was telling me I was on the wrong track and not bother trying this remedy. So I just put the project aside, and since it was my prayer time, I began praying. A few minutes into prayer, it occurred to me that this was the enemy who had picked up this eye clicking from observing at least one time when this happened to me. And by the way, I have a habit of talking to God out loud so the enemy can hear me. And that God has allowed the enemy to use this trick to discourage me into abandoning the project. So, after prayer, I went ahead and tried this idea, and it worked, and my technical problem is over. You know, it's so easy for us to go about our lives and not consider how the enemy interferes with our thoughts, words, and deeds. After all, it is uncomfortable to keep him in mind constantly as a killer on the prowl that wants to destroy us. But that is exactly who he is, a killer out for our destruction. I hope this little story helps you to train yourself, as hard as it may be, to question your thinking, your words, and actions. The enemy is many times our intelligence, and if you don't think so, then you are already at a disadvantage. Stay vigilant at all times and pray much so God can talk with you and point out how the enemy is trying to get an upper hand on destroying you. And that's the end of my little story, and I'm so happy I can continue with my project without his interference. But I can't even begin to tell you how many times the enemy has tricked me. And it's through prayer that God lets you know what's happening, so it's really important.